Yes. I was thinking about that. I used to love listening to Howard Stern back in the day, and that dude brought everything from his personal life into his show. And I was thinking about that for us today as we were leading in, having this discussion about the formality of the intro and what we do and what we don't do. And I think it's
You
great.
want it one way, I want it another way. Who's
Yes.
actually in charge of leading us off? Yeah, so we're kind of like, we have a little friction going into this one. Okay, today we're going to get down to business about we're going to get down to business with the exact tools that we use in our coaching program. And so they're tangible. You can take them with you. You can implement them right away. It's coming off the heels of several conversations with our clients about not enough time. I just don't have enough time to do everything. I don't have enough time to take a break at work. I'm so busy. I don't know how to implement everything that's on my plate. So we're going to break it down and simplify it. But before we do that, we are going to let Darren take it away with his bad dad joke.
All right, I like this one.
Great.
Did I tell you I used to be a programmer for AutoCorrect?
No.
They fried me for no reason.
That was terrible.
I like that one.
That one is really bad. That's not even funny.
Do you understand it?
Yes.
I know you don't always get them.
I don't always get them, but that one was not very funny.
I like that one.
All right, let's dive in. So you have certain tools that you use with your clients. I have certain tools I use with my clients, our clients. And some of them are unique to our coaching and some of them are the same thing, just packaged a little bit differently. So let's just go down the list here, our Take 5 list. The 4 Ds methodology. This one I use all the time with my clients. The 4 Ds, for those of you who are not familiar with it, the 4 Ds is do, defer, delete, or delegate. So how do you use it with your clients?
So first I want to name drop Stephen Crawford. I've known him for years, is the first guy to have taught me this. And then you've adopted it, I've adopted it, etc. Now, I know you're going to talk more about how you coach folks on productivity with email specifically. And I do the same thing. When I hear from my clients that there's no time, I don't have time, my inbox is doing this, whatever. And this is a corporate thing, meaning I was on a call yesterday with some clients, 4 of them, and half of them, at least 2 of them, said that their inboxes just continue to increase. They can't get through it all. And then as a result, they don't respond timely. And I've been on the receiving end of their untimely responses. And as you know, one of my pet peeves is not getting a timely response. So that's the backside of when people are not on top of emails. Long-winded way to say is I do coach clients sometimes about how to manage inbox using the 4 Ds. I also coach too, as inquiries come in, as priorities come from top down, as strategies change, etc., is looking at what do I do, defer, don't do, i.e. delete, and delegate. And the 4th thing, which was my pinky, the delegation is what a lot of leaders, surprisingly, are really not very good at. And the reason I say surprising is it doesn't matter if we're talking about the C-suite or mid-level leader or somewhere in between, delegation is a thing. And what happens is the leader often says that, oh, my team is too busy, so I'll just do it. There's also an element of, oh, I don't trust that they're going to do it to my satisfaction, so I'll just do it. So the delegation is usually the thing that kind of, or the cream that rises to the top of, as leaders get better at delegation, the other 3 Ds become a little bit more simplified, let's say.
Okay. I use it similarly, but I take it from more of a global perspective of not just being a leader, but also maybe managing a home and maybe kids or life in general. Because a lot of times I hear my clients tell me how overwhelmed they are. They're overwhelmed because there's so much to do and they don't know how to get it all done during the day. and it stacks so high and so heavy that they almost just like put their head down and either don't do, or they overfunction and they burn out. And because they're going so fast, they don't even recognize, like, they don't even recognize the 4Ds. Like, wait a second here. As a leader, what do I need to strip away so I can focus on my priorities, which is going to go into number 4. So 3 and 4 here. 3 is time and energy audit, and 4 is priority reset. How I use this is with, we'll get into it more, is like identifying what are the priorities in your life, what are the priorities for this week or this month, as it pertains to work and home or your health. Then you do a time audit. So you record everything to picking up the socks on the floor and doing the laundry, to running the meetings and training your team. Everything gets recorded. And then you take that, what you're doing, and you measure it against what your priorities are, and you're going to see a discrepancy. It's plain as day. And that's when the 4Ds come in, and you start to look at, okay, well, this is why I'm burned out. This is why I'm overwhelmed. This is why I'm living in anxiety, and I don't have any time to go to the gym or get a coach or work on some of the things that I know I need to deliver unless I do it at 3 a.m. And then you take that and you say, okay, what do I need to do to protect the asset yourself? Make sure you're healthy, make sure you're fed, make sure you're optimized, you have energy. And what do I need to do to protect my leadership position in the company? That's what I do. Everything else, I got to figure out what to do with it, because it's actually slowing me down from maximum contribution, being as healthy as I can, having energy, all the things that you say you want and you should do, but you don't do. That's a long-winded way, but that's how I bring in the 4Ds. And I'll tell you, when you're so used to doing everything, stripping away, it's a mind game. It's emotional. And there's the internal work that you have to do to work, as you say, on the trust, on the communication, on sitting on the couch when you say, kids, you go do the dishes, or team, you go complete this project. Like sitting back and letting the people that you've deferred to or delegated to do their job.
All right, as you're talking, something came up to me, which is I hear it a lot, and I hear it a lot through you of the stories of your clients. So there's 4Ds. What I hear most often is I either do or I don't. And in this example, the don't is delete. You hear it a lot of the overburden, which is really overwhelm, which is overdoing. So everything that comes in, either I have to do it, there's no either. I do it or nobody does it. And so they're not delegating and they're not deferring. And what I think what happens, and maybe they are deferring, maybe I'm getting a little confused on my own words here, but they either do or don't. And then when they don't, things pile up, deadlines start getting missed, work product starts to suffer, health suffers. We're not prioritizing the asset, as you said. We're starting to deprioritize the things that are important to us to prioritize other people's priorities. So it's almost like 2 of the D's get lost in the whole thing.
Agreed. Why do you think people do that? Why do you think leaders do that?
What I hear most often is, I don't trust the team to do it. And sometimes it's not those exact words, but when we get down to brass tacks, that's what it is. The other is this kind of empathetic thing that is, oh, they're too busy, so I have to do it. Either way, and let me slow down. One of the things I say to a lot of my clients is, if you talk to yourself, because some people don't, right? But if you talk to yourself, it is a one-sided conversation. And the conversation is, my team is too busy, so I can't give them anything. The problem is they never invited the team into the conversation. They never invited another voice in. So quite frankly, they never validated how busy or not the team is. They never validated whether the team can or can't take something on. And then I think downstream to that is prioritization. I mean, I have a firsthand story where my boss told me everything was the priority. And I was working 12-hour days and on Friday nights drinking wine at my little bistro table, working into midnight on a Friday night. I mean, what a fucking loser, right? But point being is that not everything could be the priority. If I'm overworked and my team's overworked, clearly we don't have a good set of priorities or a substantial or a clear or reasonable set of priorities. So how do we reprioritize? Certain things have to fall down the list, which comes to some of the priority stuff we're going to talk about.
I couldn't agree more. My clients have hyper control issues, and listen, for all you hyper controllers out there, God, it feels so good, doesn't it? And it's overwhelming and exhausting, and it will lead you to burnout. So my clients over control. A lot of them are in the mentality of it's just faster if I do it myself. I know how to do this. It's faster if I do it myself. Or I want to make sure that there's a specific outcome and only I can guarantee that specific outcome. So you control everything. I don't know if I feel like my clients genuinely do trust their teams, but they just don't give them the opportunity to be trustworthy, to prove that they can be trustworthy. I think they genuinely are like, yeah, I trust them, but I can do it better. I can do it faster. I can do it quicker, and I can mitigate any risk on the back end of the fallout. And the problem that I see with my clients is they adopt that mentality and they take it home with them. And then they do the exact same thing at home. I can load the dishwasher quicker. I can ensure that none of my whites are now, red or pink because colors are mixed up, or my favorite cashmere sweater is shrunken. Like I can make sure, I just know what summer camps the kids like, and I know the schedule, and I can just do it all. And you overfunction at home because you're so used to overfunctioning at work. And when you implement this 4D, it starts to strip away at work. So you have more white space. You're not at a constant boil. You can come down to a simmer. You can focus on what you're actually supposed to deliver and be as a leader. And as we know, what we do in one area of our life, it impacts the rest of our area or the rest of our life. You can start to implement that at home. So there's more equality at home. You give your kids an opportunity to participate. If you have kids, maybe you have a partner, you bring them into the fold. So you're not overdoing everything. You must do the 4Ds. If you are at a constant boil, if you are overwhelmed, if you are micromanaging, whatever is going on, you must implement this strategy. And I'm done.
All right. Number 2.
I was very passionate about that one because it really annoys me when people complain about their lives, but then they don't take the tools and implement it to make their lives better. So here's a tool. Implement the fucking tool. Number 2, the 5x5. This is yours. I'm going to let you take it. I don't actually do this one.
Okay. So this was developed with a CTO, and quite frankly, he was micromanaging. He has a very specific saying that he used, and I won't use it here because it would out him. But in essence, he's in everybody's business. And as we start to dissect why, a big part of it was he needed to be informed on what was happening. Now, that's reasonable. As a leader, you need to know what your team is doing. However, because he was in their business and he was micromanaging, not only wasn't he in the know, but he was consistently over-inserting himself. Then the team started to defer to him. It was like, all right, the team would be brainstorming, and Mr. CTO would say this, and they would say, okay, Mr. CTO, you know best. Or if they were unsure how to proceed, instead of brainstorming, they would look to Mr. CTO and say, what should we do? So he wasn't getting what he needed out of the team, but he was in the know, which was good, but not ultimately what he wanted to do. So as we dissected it, really what he needed to know was progress, issues, risks, bottlenecks, etc. So the 5x5 was what we created. And it was a side by side on an Excel spreadsheet, very simple. On the left side were the top 5 strategies or priorities for the department or the company. So it was more of a global view of the top 5 priorities. And then I can't remember how many direct reports the CTO has. Let's say there are 5 of them, just for argument's sake. Each one of them was working on something different: software development, networking, project management, cybersecurity, and whatever the 5th one is. So each one of them were working on something that impacted the company's or department strategies, but their individual work was different, right? The software development team was working on developing new software, while the cybersecurity team was working on patches and security, etc. So the right-hand side was, what am I personally working on? What are my top 5 priorities? And so these top 5 priorities should align with the company or department's 5 priorities. So it was this constant running list of, what am I keeping an eye on globally and what am I doing locally?
So it was like it was a real-time
Yes.
tool.
He implemented this department-wide. He asked all of his leaders, his direct reports, to bring their 5x5 every time they had a one-on-one, which was bi-weekly. And then there was a running list of what folks were working on.
And everybody could see everybody else's, or was this
That's a good question. I don't remember the answer to that. I don't know that all 5 of the direct reports knew what they were working on, which is a good wrinkle to this whole story. But the CTO knew what each one of those 5 people was doing.
Okay. So that created the visibility that he wanted, but it also kept everybody on track of like what the actual priority is. So you're not in the weeds or out there. Look, we all do it. We want to buffer with things that are easy or we enjoy doing, but it's not exactly what's moving the needle in the moment. So it keeps everybody on track and creates the visibility for the leader.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Here was some downstream effect to it. So Mr. CTO now was in the know. So whenever he got questions from his colleagues or the CEO, he's like, boom, I have the answers for you. The second thing that started to happen is the more he got out of their shit, the more that these folks started to elevate their game. They were then saying, hey, Mr. CTO, from my vantage point of developing the software, I've uncovered these things: issues, risks, other buttons and widgets and things that are going to make this software better. Hey, I spoke to this other department and realized that what we're creating doesn't totally solve their problem. So now I'm suggesting we create this other thing. Ultimately, what he found was that his then direct reports were acting more senior leader-ish. They were driving bigger and better strategy. They were driving bigger and better tactics and projects. The whole engine started working way better once he got out of their shit.
Yeah. He wasn't holding them back, he wasn't holding them back.
Yes.
He was acting as a leader.
Yes. He was acting as a leader. And they were not deferring to him to tell them what they should do. Rather, they were telling him, this is what I'm going to do. Do you object? No? Great. I'm going to go do that.
And let's be honest, adults do not want to be micromanaged.
No.
You hired them for a reason, right? As a leader, you hired your team for a reason. Let them go do their job. And if they're not, address that, but come to the table with positive intent of, they're going to do what they said they're going to do. I'm clear on what my expectations are and the end results, the KPIs that I want. Go work on your own issues. Maybe it's trust or over control, and let them do their job, and then make course correct real time. Okay, so I think I'm going to have to bring in this 5x5. So I'm going to need that document. All right, let's go into time and energy audit, which I love because it's data and you really can't argue with data. I mean, you can, it's just, there's no benefit to it. And so when I hear my clients talk about like, there's no time, I need to find the time to do this. I don't have the time to do this. but I'm so overwhelmed, and this is coming off of a text, and there's no judgment here. We're all very, very busy, but it's coming off a text of like, I am back to 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 back. I can't, it's like hard to get to the bathroom. It's hard to take a drink of water. It's hard to have some lunch. When I'm working with my clients on repairing their adrenals so they have more positive energy, my big thing is get out, just stop at 3 o'clock, give yourself 15 minutes. And if you can get outside or just get away from the computer, I can't do that. I don't have time. So if you're going to use the time, I call it an excuse. If you're going to use the time excuse, then I'm going to challenge you to do a time audit. And yes, you're going to have to find time or create time to actually do the audit. But it's the only way you're going to know where you're spending your time. And so what I want to make clear here is there's visible time and there's invisible time in my world. So there's I'm doing the laundry, I'm putting together a PowerPoint for the board, I'm doing a training with my team, I'm taking my kids to soccer, visible time. But then there's also invisible time where you're managing everybody else and life and work that is not yours to manage, but you're spending time thinking about it, which distracts you from getting things done quickly and efficiently. So there's two things that I have: invisible time sucks and visible time sucks. And then really looking at that and saying, going back to, all right, this is reality right here. Taking that, and again, I'm going to say this, go back and you take it and you measure it against your top priorities. Or in your words, you could measure it against your 5x5. All right, well, I said, these are my 5x5s. Is what I'm doing directly accomplishing that priority that I said I was going to hold myself accountable, my team, myself, my family, whatever it is, accountable to? If it's not, then you have to have a hard conversation with yourself about, what do I need to take off my plate? What do I need to stop micromanaging invisibly and let other people manage it for them, take control of it, own it, and go back and implement the 4Ds. You delete it, you defer it, so outsource, or you delegate it to somebody else. Like, I guess that's delegation too. I was just thinking about, like, it takes a lot of time to cook dinner when you get home and you've had a busy night. So delegate it to meal delivery or a chef or your kids or your partner. Does that make sense how I use it?
Maybe talk about how you tactically take someone through doing the time audit.
There's a lot of different ways. And so you have to know your learning style and about what you can truthfully do. So I have some clients, there's an app, I cannot think of the name of it, but if I do, I'm gonna put it in the notes or the comments. But there is an app that you can actually turn on, turn off, like when you're recording your time, okay? And so it manually does it for you in the back end, and then you just print out a report. Other people will take their calendar and print out their calendar, but that means that they're putting things on they're putting everything on the calendar. So, right, from 3 to 4, I had a board meeting. From 4:30 to 5, I had to go pick up the kids or went to the grocery. It's like everything has to go on there, so you're being honest. And then I have other clients who they just write it down. They just have a little notebook with them, and they just really quickly jot down what they're doing. You have to say, I'm going to do this for 1 week. So your weekend and a normal week, please. Okay. It takes time. I can't tell you it's going to be easy. I can't tell you you're going to want to not do it. It takes a lot of time, but it's the only way to give yourself empirical evidence of what you're actually doing in order to make adjustments. So whatever works for you, as long as it's truthful and you're not fudging it like you do, like, I don't know, food journals.
All right, here's a few other wrinkles that I work on with my clients. I hear a lot of what you started with, which is the back-to-back meetings, which is real in corporate America. So the first thing we start looking at is which meetings are you not going to attend, or are you just going to delete off your calendar? Really? And most times, as you said earlier, a lot of the work is managing your brain. People like going to the meeting. They enjoy the people on the call. They think they're important, truly. And sometimes they're not that important. Sometimes it is, I need to be informed. There's a whole bunch of reasons, often enough, in which it is not the most productive use of their time. So once we work through their mind shit, we start to remove meetings from the calendar straight up. 2, we look at bookends, and there's multiple bookends. What time do I get up in the morning? What time do I go to sleep? What time do I go to work? What time do I have to leave? Am I a morning person, an afternoon, or night person? So we start to look at productivity hours. We start to use the 5x5. We didn't talk about values, and I'm not going to jump into that rabbit hole, even though I love them. But values start to become a barometer too. I mean, just real personal for a second, health and wellness is very important to me. And in my time audit, I've got to make sure that I'm putting in time for me to work out, especially right now that I'm doing 75 hard and I got to work out twice a day. So point being is we need to look at current state of calendar, see where our time is being spent, and then start to make some cuts straight up. Even though it's very simple, and a lot of these tools are very simple we're talking about today, I had a client tell me that the very statement of, if I say yes to this, then I am saying no to that. If I say yes to looking at emails at 10 p.m., I'm saying no to getting to bed on time, or I'm saying no to connect with my spouse or partner or petting my cat or my dog, whatever it is. I'm oversimplifying, right? The point is we need a snapshot of current state. We have to cut some stuff. We have to prioritize what's important to us, and we have to get good, or at least comfortable enough to say no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The saying no, there's a lot wrapped up in there, like value, worth, overcompensation. And that's where we talk about why coaching is so important if you use it properly, is because all these things we're talking about, we could check the box. You and I both have clients that check the box. But if you're not doing the back end work to change your internal narrative, your programming, or your wiring, the minute there's a stressor, the minute you're up against the friction, you're going to go back to your past habits. You must rewire yourself in order to implement anything that's being handed to you. So it's so much easier to say, just tell me what to do. And this is kind of what we're doing here, is like, okay, we hear it. Like, just give me a tool. Here's the tool. But you are the ultimate tool. I mean, I'm laughing because, like, you're the tool. But that's the ultimate tool that has to be changed. And that's what coaching does. You fundamentally have to change and rewire in order to do these things, in order to constrain and hold yourself accountable. So do the time and energy audit. It is so insightful. Like, one of my clients, she made a commitment to decrease her meetings by 20%. So we had to go in and do all of these things, especially number 4, which we're going to talk about next, which is what's the priority. Great. Okay. We're protecting that, which means that goes on your calendar, and all of these have to come off. And then you do the coaching around how to maintain that and honor it. So priority reset, can we go into that? I think we're pretty clear on how to do a time audit.
Yeah, real quick. I just want to say that with all the pushback that we get about why this thing won't work and why this other thing doesn't apply to me. At the end of the day, you have to do something different. And if you're not willing to do something different, by default, you are accepting the status quo. If you're accepting the status quo, don't complain about it.
Yes. You know that's a button of mine.
Yeah.
Same with yours.
Yeah.
If you're choosing not to do something different, then you're choosing the status quo. Don't complain. It's just not useful. And it feels terrible. And then you feel like you don't have any control over your life when at the end of the day, every result in your life you have created. So let's go to the priorities, because this one helped me a lot. So I don't even know how many years ago it was. It's been a while. I was
running.
I can't even explain the frenetic energy that I had and how fast I was going. And I was doing everything, as a single mom. I had 2 very young kids. I was running a business. I was mentoring and hiring practitioners. I was doing it was just exactly like boil point at its finest, until I can't even remember what happened, but I was like, something has to change. This is not sustainable. And I had to sit down and say, what are the actual priorities? If everything else went to shit in my life, what are the 3 things, maybe 4, that I will protect and honor and need in my life no matter what? It was like a little bit of a reality check. And it was me. I had to make myself a priority. My kids, they had to be a priority. You and I, our relationship, and my business, in that order. I had to be a priority first. And whenever I do this with my clients and I say, okay, tell me your top 3 priorities, you know what they do? They do not put themselves on that list. And then I say, well, what about you? And they're like, oh, I never really thought about that. So when I do priority resets and I ask my clients to identify their top 3 to 4 priorities, I say, number 1 has to be you. Fill in the rest. It's very challenging for my clients. How do you use the priorities with your clients?
I do 2 things, right? So I alluded to it earlier, so I'll go into a little bit today. I'm very big on values, and through the values assessment I created, we've identified top 5. We identify more, but the top 5 is what we focus on. And then we use the top 5 as the gauge or the barometer. So in essence, if I make this decision, so my number 1 priority is health and wellness. I don't remember the exact order, but health and wellness, adventure, freedom, comfort, flexibility. These are 5 of my top. Number 6 is connection. So these are like real important to me. And I start to then decide, if I do this thing or make this decision, how does it honor or dishonor my values? And that starts to put things into focus for me. And that's what I do with clients. Also, very tactical. However, I grew up in the 80s and I love 80s rap. De La Soul had a song, 3 is the magic number. And it is 3 to 5 is the gauge that I usually use. But there's the productivity strategy of top 3. And on a daily basis, a weekly, however you want to use it, these are the top priorities that I have to do today. And it's not picking up the kids or eating food. It's typically medium or bigger rocks that need to get moved forward into whatever forward progress they need. So you choose the top 3, and your day is not over until all 3 of those things are done. So that's one of the things I do too. So values number 1, and then that top 3.
It's just getting honest about what matters. And it's being truthful with yourself about what is ultimately important in your life and whether or not you're protecting it. It's like just and not feeling bad about it. So my clients sometimes when I say you have to put yourself on that list, ooh, really? You have to be a priority in order to run your business, lead your team, grow your career, be the parent that you want to be the partner or spouse that you want to be the community leader that you want to be, have the health that you want to have. You must be the priority. And yet it's so difficult to make sure that that hits the calendar. And that is the number one thing that goes on my client's calendar and does not get pushed as soon as there is pushback. It's fascinating to me. But yet that's the thing that creates everything in your life and you don't even make the list. That shit has to change right now. Anything else with priorities?
No, let's segue to the shed.
Okay. So when I work with my clients, we work multifaceted, meaning I work with them, I coach them as leaders, as entrepreneurs, executives. We coach them in that mindset. I also coach them on their health and wellness because again, it's a reciprocal relationship. Poor health, poor leadership, eventually, right? Good health, good leadership. They fuel each other. And one of the tools that I use, they're multi-tools, right? Lab work and supplementation and nutrition protocols. But one of the most effective tools that I use is a program that I have ran for years called The Shed, Simple, Healthy, Effective Detox. And for 30 days, we reset everything. So it's a metabolic detox where we're gonna reset your blood sugar levels. We're gonna help your liver detoxify. We're gonna get you off the sugar and the alcohol, not forever, just so we can kind of clean things out and then start over, if you will. And it's not the easiest, but it's not the hardest to do, but it's very strategic when you feel like you're a little out of control, like you're constantly on the go, you're traveling all the time, airport food sucks, you're entertaining clients, you get home and you don't have the time to make dinner. So you're always grabbing takeaway. It's just a really easy way to reset and overhaul the entire system. So we can start over and say, okay, I feel like I'm back in control now and I have more energy and I don't have these energy crashes at the end of the day. I feel like I've got a grip on this. Now, how do I maintain and continue to expand on that so I can have more energy, have more cognitive function? I can sleep better at night. I lose some weight. I reduce my inflammation. All of these kind of lifestyle driven issues that you're dealing with, we clear that out with the shed. So I think that that's important because of what I do. I just don't believe that unless you have health, you are not a healthy leader, a healthy parent, a healthy partner if you don't have health. And so I never can separate the two out because as a nutrition therapist and executive coach, I just see that they are hand in hand. So that's the shed. And that is a tool. It makes a difference.
I want to say a few things.
Okay.
You and I, in our personal lives and professional lives, have enough stories of people not understanding or recognizing the impact the food that they eat on their productivity, energy, cognition, performance, etc. We have enough of those stories that we know.
Yes.
You are not just talking about eating more salads. right? But it is what you are talking about from my perspective is how does an individual more effectively fuel themselves with rest, nutrition, exercise, and a whole bunch of other things? How do they maximize it for themselves? So therefore, they're fueling themselves to be even better leaders, parents, spouses, etc. Like there is direct correlation between the two things.
Exactly. As a client told me one time, she said, I want to be like a professional athlete at work. Fuel me so I can be the best. And it really is no different than if you are an athlete. It's a different race. And so I look at that and I treat my clients like I have treated my athletes in the past when I worked with athletes of all levels. It's the same thing. I want energy. I hear so often like, I just can't remember things as well, or I don't process as quickly, or I just feel a little sluggish in my brain. I have a little bit of apathy. We don't have to experience life like that. And our clients are in very high pressure jobs, positions. If you're not crystal clear, if you just have all this shit up here, like you just feel it. I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. I just can't explain it, but you just feel like you've had those moments in life when you're like, oh my God, I've got it. Like I have energy. Like everything is so good.
You're in flow.
You're in flow. You're in ease compared to when you're not. We know that impact. And too many of our executives are living out of the flow, out of the ease, out of that energy, out of that athletic state. And it makes their job harder. Everything takes longer. So I can remove that. Like I like to say, I can clear the runway for you so you can take off fast and hard, and you don't have to feel so exhausted. But it comes with not just the shed. It also comes with, like you said, prioritizing your health, making sure we move our bodies, drinking clean waters. There's so many things that I can do with my clients, but they go hand in hand. And I think that's a very unique value proposition that I offer, is having that strategic insight and that science behind the human body and nutrition, as well as being able to understand you as a leader and coach you through all aspects of your life. It's very unique. I'll just give myself a little shout out. I don't know very many coaches that can do that. So if you're interested in it, give me a call. Working together. All right, we are right at the time, so we need to wrap this up because we promised 45 minutes.
Nice job.
I'm holding my commitments. You can learn to trust me that I will hold my commitments. And you and I will work out the leading. Okay, so we are here every Tuesday-ish, 9:15. Join us live. Watch us on the replay. If you want to stay up to date, it's 10 o'clock. Make sure you get on our email list, see what we have coming up, new offerings, new programs. But if you're a leader or you have a team and you need executive coaching and you like what you hear, give us a call. Any final words?
No.
None. All right, everybody. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. All right.
Are we 100% off? Because sometimes we're not 100% off. Hey.
I hope so.